What in the world does it mean to actually lead with love? How would you do it? How are other CEOs leading with love? What does it actually mean? And how can you pick something up that's going to help you turn right back around and lead with love in your organization or on your team? We're going to cover that today in depth with a special guest, CEO of an engineering firm out of Oklahoma City, that's going to share with you some of what's working for them and their team. Welcome to the PioneerCast. I'm DeWayne Ables, founder and president of PioneerQ. We have something extraordinary in store for you today. I'm hoping that over the next 15 minutes, you're able to pick something up that'll help you genuinely love and lead your team in an extraordinary way so that everyone's motivated to bring their A game to work every day on every project. If you or someone on your team truly wants to better engage people and maximize their potential and get the most out of their team, I'm borderline begging you to get them to a boot camp. At these boot camps, I guarantee you three things are going to happen. Number one, you and the people that you bring from your team are going to come together as a team and gel more so than any other time. Number two, you're going to help them make life decisions about who they are, what they're great at, and what they could become at home and on your team and at work. And then thirdly, you're going to be able to see into what you could become as a leader, what it means to lead in 2024, and how to maximize the potential of the people around you, both at home and at work. Take the next steps. Go to our website, pioneerq.com. We've got these all across the country, and sign up. In order to help me out today, I'm bringing in a really close friend of mine and a great leader in the engineering world, Doug Glenn, who is the CEO, president of CEC Engineering out of Oklahoma City. Doug, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dwayne. I'm surprised you were able to get through that without laughing because we've been having such a good time already. So, my
Yeah.
goal here today is you said 15 minutes. I'm going to try to stretch it into 30.
Well, Doug, as you know, just kind of teeing everything up here, we're in the middle of a series that we're referring to as the four mindset shifts. And what we realize is that there's four basic mindset shifts that are preventing people from personally, professionally, and organizationally growing. And part of the frustration that we have is we see leaders and managers and project managers and executives buying books and buying consultants and all these things all the time, and all those things are great most of the time, but it's these mindset shifts that we're seeing that are preventing them from actually applying some of the thought process and making those things effective. So this series is all about those particular mindsets. And the particular mindset that I've asked you to join us for, Doug, is this what we consider the mindset of making the mindset from leading with authority to leading with love, right? And so you and your organization are phenomenal at doing that. It's a part of your DNA. It's the bedrock of what I believe CEC was built on. So I'm excited to have you talk that through with us here on the PioneerCast. So real quick, you and I have been working together for what? I don't know, 15 years or something like that.
Yeah, 10 or 12, somewhere in there.
10 or 12. And so I would love for you just to spend a few minutes, just give us in a little bit of background of who is Doug Glenn, like what are you all about? And then secondly, share with us what CEC is all about.
Yeah. So, Doug Glenn, civil engineer, small town Oklahoma kid. I got a job here 20 years ago as an engineer working on highway projects. And somehow I ended up in this seat. I think everyone else took a step back, and I was like, "What happened here?" But no, I'm proud to lead this company. We've got about 270 people. We do everything for infrastructure except build it ourselves. So survey, design, inspection, highway, bridge, power systems, facilities, you name it. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Allen, Texas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and who knows where next. So we're just keep growing. So that's us. Um, yeah, happy to be here.
So, just for those of you who may not know you, I'm sure, I mean, a lot of the folks that you don't know probably watching this, but for those of you who don't know you, fill us in on your role now, how long you've been in this role. And honestly, I'd love to know what you love about your role.
Oh, yeah. So I'm currently serving as president of CEC. I've been doing so for 3 years now officially. So yeah, I really love it. I love that uh, the people here care so much about each other and about just the work we do and how it impacts the communities where we live. And I couldn't really picture myself doing anything besides something like this. Um, and really anywhere but here. I think we created a special place where people can really just be who they are and love on it and love on our clients and the places we serve. So I was honored that you asked me to speak to this today.
Cool, cool. Well, as you were talking just then, I literally had a flashback. 5 years ago, is we've been working with CC for a long time. I think when we started working with you guys, you were like 60 people. What are you now?
Uh, 260 to 270 depends on you know who
Yeah,
you ask and part time and full all that, but mid 200s. Yeah.
awesome. But I was remembering just a while ago as you were talking, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, as Marty, the previous CEO president, was thinking about his succession plan, which y'all did a great job in that planning process, which is a whole nother podcast. But I remember us talking through you specifically as a candidate for this role. And it's coming back to mind for me because obviously the topic's on leading with love, but I specifically remember Marty saying, Doug Glenn is a phenomenal engineer and he's great with his team and with clients. But he said the number one thing for Marty, for him, that made you the top candidate was you genuinely love people. I literally just remembered that as you were talking. Do you think that's descriptive of you? And do you feel like that is something that you pride yourself on or really matters, considering your title of being president CEO?
I hope so. I hope people would say that. I wouldn't say anyone would say that Doug Glenn is super uh, affectionate or wears his heart on his sleeve type person when you think of love that way. But I do typically or genuinely as well care about people and where they're at and about their families. And I could have a whole conversation with someone uh, and forget to get to work, pretty easily. I think they gave me this job because I was distracting too many people. Uh, the closer I was to the work with just talking, that's just the way I was raised was to care about people first, and it's just kind of a natural thing. Even I've found over the years, like if I meet someone, I'm gonna, I am not like super outgoing, but if we can talk to each other, I'm gonna remember details about your life and your family and stuff. I may forget your name, uh,
Mm,
Daryl, but when we I am gonna remember, you've got 2 3 boys, one's a senior, one's, uh, they all play football. He's graduating. I see your wife's, doing all the senior Sunday thing and having the typical meltdown of he's about to leave us and he's going to Kansas State and construction management and you like duck hunting and deer hunting and all that stuff. And I can remember all that, but uh, I don't know what, you know, the last thing we talked about work was, or
yeah.
honestly. But of course, that's probably because I listen to Dan more than you, but uh, you don't want to hear that.
That's actually
Anyway.
true. Doug's one of so anybody who knows me knows I've been telling this story lately about Dan. I might have even said it on the previous episode, but Doug was one of those leaders that said, "Hey, Dwayne, we're trying to schedule this half day session. Is Dan gonna be able to make that? If you can't make it, it's okay. We really like Dan. Are you okay with that?" Yeah, I had FOMO for like a week, but yeah, I got over. Thanks,
But I said it in a
but
loving way. It was all in love, right?
uh, well, even as you said that, I'm like, man. I love that about you. I value, I mean, that's not even on the script, man. That's just who Doug Glenn is right there. And it's a great example of even me. Like you brought us in to help you grow and scale and build leaders in your company. But here you are, you know, loving me. And I appreciate that. Like when my wife sees this, she's gonna love that. And I appreciate
Mhm.
that about you. Is 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 the whole concept of leading of love, is that just something that y'all naturally do, or is it like inside the founding, guiding principles of CEC, or like how deep does it really go? Or is it just something
Yeah,
y'all accidentally do?
yeah. I think it's just part of who we are, we're pretty open, at least our leadership is. It's not something where, it's forced on everyone, but our leaders, are pretty open about we are people of faith, Christian faith specifically. And, I go to, you think love, you think of First Corinthians of love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, keeps no record of wrongs. I'm gonna mess it up. But I think if you live that way, if you call yourself a follower of Christ, you have really no choice but to put people first and lead with love because it should be authentically like what you're about and who you are and how you're wired. And now we're all fallen people, really, and so sometimes it's hard to it's hard to live that 100% of the time. We're not perfect. I'm sure people are watching this that says, "Well, Doug Glenn wasn't very me that one time," and sorry about that. I'm not perfect, but uh, at the core of it, it should be. It shouldn't be. You need to talk about it, but it should just be kind of expected.
Yeah, and so it's a great point you're making. I mean, your source of love is going back to a biblical definition, as it sounds like. And I
Hmm.
know you, and I know that's very true. But with 200 and something people in your firm, right, and you're spread out in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and all these different states, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, so this is like legitimately I don't know, but I'm assuming not everybody at CEC shares the same exact faith that you do. Are they still able to love,
Right.
or
Of
how
course
does it
not.
look different
Yeah.
for them?
Yeah, of course they don't, and that's not any kind of litmus test or anything. We love everybody. You work here.
Yeah.
Just know that that's the way we're gonna operate and live our life, and that's okay. Uh, so yeah, not everyone has to share that faith, but they have to be okay with that's the way we're going to be. And I've butchered the answer to the question. Can you restate the question?
Yeah. So, Doug, within a firm of 200 something people and you're spread out in, 3 or 4 states, obviously not everybody's gonna come to the table or come to work every day with the same faith. Do they love differently, or does it look the same, or what does that look like?
Yeah, of course, not everyone has to share the same faith I do uh, at all. They just have to be okay with working for people that do. And um, so, no, not everyone's gonna live that out exactly the same way. I think it just comes down to at the root of it is, do I care more about the person and their needs than I do about what they can produce for me? And if you just keep that the center, then it's gonna work itself out. All the
Mm,
decisions will be made around that, and, each situation is gonna be a little different, but you come back to that core, it's gonna work.
boy, you just made that really simple. Man, I needed that. Thank you.
I'm a
So,
simple man, Dwayne, I'm a simple man.
I hear you. But one of the things that we see, especially younger emerging managers, for example, struggling with is I run across them all the time where I know they, even in your firm, Dan and I've talked about a few of you've got some fantastic leaders where I know they love people, but sometimes holding people accountable can be difficult. So, how do you lead with love, but at the same time, hold somebody accountable? Talk us through some tips there.
Yeah, it is difficult. You have to remember, um, that to love someone means you want the best for them. We mentioned our spouses earlier. My wife is 1,000 times wiser and smarter than me, and one thing she tells our girls is, "I love you too much to let you act that way," when
Mm,
they're doing something that isn't great. So, I think just in terms of at work is, I love you too much to not help you live to your potential or to be doing things that God didn't create you to do, or what have you. To really love someone is to care about where they're going, what they're up to, and if you really care about them, why would you let them go down the wrong path or not be what they could be, or help take care of someone else, their neighbor in their company, or however you want to look at that. So it's extremely difficult when you're a nice group of people, but nice and kind aren't always the same thing, and we talk about that here too.
That's a great point. Man, I love how you put that. So, how does this I mean, obviously, this is a significant part of your culture, but when you think about some of what our industry's up against right now with recruiting and retention, or serving clients, how does this leading with love concept at CEC, help you with recruiting?
It's hard to to say, "Come here and we'll love you better than anybody else." We've never tried that. Maybe we do need to try that. Uh, one I don't know. One thing I am proud of, is we've seemed to, over the years, have a lot of boomerang employees that, they may leave and then come back and realize this is a pretty great place. Um, so, uh, I think that's a testament to, maybe there was something alluring about where they went, and, in the end, found out that these are good people over at CEC to work with. So, that doesn't really answer your question, but think it when we keep that in mind, like, maybe why does that happen? How can we take those things that they ultimately discovered and put them into something we can easily communicate to others, so that you can help get them into the fold? And probably the best way to do that, the best luck we've ever had recruiting people, is just word of mouth from your own people. If they love it here, they're gonna spread the good news of CEC. So, we better be about what we say we're about, and once you do that, then the word gets out from your friends and from testimonials and whatever. So if we're having to sell people on being here, then we're probably not gonna get very far.
Yeah, that's a great point. Completely agree with that. So if you were, and you guys do a great job of this, but when you have great technicians or great project managers who you're wanting to move into team leader type positions or management type positions, what are some tips that you give them to help them understand how to truly lead with love versus just the authority?
I think if you first off, if it appears you're the type that's gonna lead with authority first and not with love, you're probably not gonna get promoted here. I think it's self-selective, and, you're gonna stick out, like, that's not the type of person that leads around here. When it does happen, you can see it pretty quickly of, "Oh, we need to do some work there." Uh, I think that's the first thing, and then helping them realize just kinda all the things we've talked about today. Just be open about it, be honest, like, your first job is to take care of the people you have, and then the work part, we'll figure it out, and we try to do a good job of not having too many reports, so
Mm,
you actually
yeah,
can know about them, care about them, keep up with them. Um,
right.
so yeah, just be open, be real about it.
Excellent. Well, Doug, your feedback and just kind of hearing into what it's like inside CE has been really valuable. It's been fun to kind of, in my mind, think through what you might say, in preparation for the Pioneer Cast, and then to actually hear you bring your version of the table is actually really fun and honestly inspiring. Um,
You
what would
say
you say?
inspiring or expiring, because those are 2 different. Well, I think people will be able to tell that, like, we didn't rehearse this. So it's all from the heart. It's hard
Right.
to tell it's not polished, it's not polished. It's from the heart. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, right. So I think there are a lot of we run into a lot of managers and executives specifically who I know they genuinely love people, but they were raised in an authoritative environment and they just have had a hard time shifting gears. What encouragement would you give to a manager or an executive who's really contemplating, this type of a management style, to encourage them to jump the fence?
I would say if you wanna do it, just go for it. I think engineering companies or I know you have other types of, companies you help, but engineering companies, we're full of engineers, and we like to analyze something to death, and where have you ever gone wrong with loving people too much? It's like, how can we screw this up? And if you're the leader of your company or your group or whatever, leading and managing are different things. We could talk about that too. And leadership is just saying this is how we're gonna go and taking a step out there and going for it. So if you're really the leader and this is what you want to do, then put your uh put your big boy or big girl pants on and go do it. That's all I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard overheard Dan's conversation with one of your managers a few weeks ago. And Dan said something like, "Hey man, I feel like there's a more authentic version of you. You just need to be you in order to, lead the way you want to lead." And I think you just reiterated that is just truly it's easier leading when you are who you are. So
Mhm. Yeah.
all right, Doug. Well, hey, man, I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate your willingness just to jump in and share with us some insights on your company. I tell you, in my opinion, if you aren't emotionally connecting to the people on your team, if you're not leading with love, you are surely managing in 2024. I hope you're able to pick something up from Doug and his leadership and their culture and what they're trying to throw down there at CEC. But we both know leading with love takes a lot of courage. So just hope that we're here to help you. And if you need anything, we're here to do that. Lead on.